So, I'm putting together a documentary that will focus around the hardships of those living on the streets and the charities that are available to help them. Do you have any opinions based on what it takes to get people onto the streets and then the effort it takes to get them off?
Well, don't know enough about it to know how they would get off of the streets, but I understand that in deprived places like the northeast, people don't have as much money and they will get into trouble with money if they don't know how to spend it properly.
So you feel that most people on the streets are genuine and it's...
I mean,
they're not because
I feel
of
like
anything they've done intentionally.
you wouldn't fake it, would you? You wouldn't stand on the streets for no reason. You'd be there on purpose. Like when you're walking down the street with your friends, going to the cinema or something, and like there's some homeless person sat outside a shop, like, and your friends go, "Oh, are we going to give them some money?" And another friend would say, "Oh no, because I mean they might be fake, or they might go buy drugs with it or something."
So do you feel that a documentary investigating this subject could
It
be
will.
eye-opening?
Yeah, it will help people. Like, people should watch this.
Yeah.
People should understand what people are going through and need to know more information. Like the homeless people, whatever way that they could watch this, they need to, because as much as we need to know the information, they need to know the information as well.
So do you have any opinions on why people are on the streets or the effort it takes to get them off?
Oh, well, it's simple, isn't it, really? Drugs, they don't want to work, they want an easy life, they don't want any responsibility for paying taxes, stuff like that.
Why is it that you feel this?
Well, you don't see any of them with jobs, do you? If they had a job, they could get paid, they wouldn't be homeless anymore. They're not putting in the right amount of effort.
Well, there's things like the big issue that jobs provided solely for the homeless.
Yeah, but why should we just hand out jobs to people who don't go looking for them themselves?
Doing a documentary
Yep.
based on the situations that homeless people have to deal with. Do you have any opinions on what gets people on the streets or the process it takes to get them off the streets?
Well, everyone on the streets are druggies. It's not even an opinion, it's basically fact that the majority of people on the streets are druggies. So, if you want to take drugs and be homeless, then take drugs and be homeless.
So you're quite happy to just leave the situation as is?
Not really, because there are some people obviously on the streets that don't deserve to be there. Like, I don't know, kids that have been kicked out because they have awful parents. So there's some people that should be off the streets, but there are people there that deserve to be on the streets with the way that they act, if you know what I mean. Like, if they know what's putting them on the streets is that they're spending all of the money on drugs, why would you not try and work to get off drugs?
You see it as more of a drug problem
Yeah.
with England rather than a homeless problem.
I'd see it more of a drug problem, yeah.
So you don't believe that there should be more help catered towards funding charities or getting more charity events or charity care for those on the streets, and it should be more rehab facilities?
There should be, yeah, it should be easier access for rehab facilities for those who want help. Like, there's obviously, again, like I said, not everyone on the street is a drug addict, and they should get help. Like, if you're under 16 and on the streets, then they'll give you free housing while you're doing like your GCSEs and stuff, which is good. But then there's like a 20-year-old girl who's on the streets, who's been on the streets since she was 16, and like, she doesn't get any help because, I don't know, the government doesn't care.
Do you feel that those on the streets make use of the services available for them, or that they ignore help?
I feel like they use food banks and stuff. I don't really know much about that, to be fair. But I feel like, well, say if I became homeless today, I wouldn't know where to start, where to go for help. I wouldn't know who to call or what to do or where the food bank is or whatever. So I feel like if they knew where to go for help, for food and clothes and whatever, then they would go. If I was a girl on the streets, I probably wouldn't sleep at all because I just wouldn't feel safe. But I don't know what it's like. I know what it's like to, I don't know, sleep in a sleeping bag. I know what it's like to camp
Yeah.
and be cold, but I don't know what it's like to not have a home or to not know where your next meal is coming from.
Yeah. So do you feel that watching the documentary does focus on the hardships of those living on the streets? It might change your opinion on them.
Well, I don't know, because like I watch the adverts on Salvation Army, and I'm like, oh well, they're doing a great cause. But it leaves my head 3 seconds later. Like,
So it'd be more if you went down yourself and had a little look about.
if I had experience with it, and if I knew what it was like firsthand, but that's what it's like with a lot of people though, isn't it? Like, if you know what something's like firsthand, then you get it and you'll help. But, yeah.
So could you start by telling us a little bit about Little Sprouts and the work you do with the community?
Yeah, we're a registered charity, and we use cooking as an engagement tool to work within the community with often those that are hardest to reach, vulnerable adults, vulnerable children. Sometimes it's about teaching nutrition, sometimes it's about teaching cooking skills, sometimes it's just a side-by-side therapy to engage people so they can come and cook with us and give them a sense of purpose and confidence that they can maybe go on then and go on to further courses or into employment.
It's a bridging step. So you take people from who are on hard down places, take them here and give them the skills that it takes to reintegrate.
Yeah, absolutely. And often it might be it takes such a long time for them to find employment, and often they're not ready to go and do from nothing to a full-time job. So this is just little stepping stones on that way. They can build the CV up saying that they've done work experience. We run level 2 food safety and hygiene, so they'll get an accredited certificate that will put on their CV as well. And yeah, it just gives people confidence, and people who are maybe isolated and haven't been outside in their community for a long time, it brings them into the community and gives us a chance to maybe signpost them on to other places as well that they can get more help from.
Yeah. So do you run private cooking classes, or is it group work that you do?
It's mainly group work, and it's mainly working with community groups. We haven't done private groups, although we do after-school cooking clubs sometimes, and we do work in schools. We tend to focus most of our work on in the places where it's most needed, and that tends to be central areas of town centres.
So what type of work does that entail? You go to local cafes or set up?
Yeah, we've helped set up a couple of cafes. We have our own cafe in Billingham, which is called the Good Mood Food Cafe, and that's for people who have mental health issues, and they can come and be with us. We do a little bit of cooking, and we have health and wellbeing exercises. We have the cafe open anyway, so it's an option for volunteers to come and work with us and again gain valuable skills. We've probably got a bank of about 10 volunteers who come and work with us. So we have the cafe, we do a lunch club, we have the cafe here. We've just started a new project here, making bread on a Tuesday, and we're trying to set up a social enterprise so that volunteers can make the bread and we sell it to the various shops or cafes. So we're just trying to develop that.
How many days a week are you open? Is it? Because before I thought it was only the Wednesdays, but now they're making bread.
Well, we've only just started the last 2 weeks making the bread, and that was because the guys who were volunteering wanted to do something else as well. We haven't got the funds to open the cafe again another day because we haven't got the funds for the food. Because what's happening is we're offering the food for free for those who can't afford it, and we're struggling to get people in who don't live on the street, a wider community in to pay. So that's just kind of like a bit of a free meal on a Wednesday afternoon that's turned out. So we needed another kind of project that would try and sustain itself and sustain the cafe on a Wednesday.
Yeah. So of course, in the long run, you'd hope to be able to open the cafe more days.
Absolutely. The benefits of providing a nutritious, healthy meal in a nice warm environment are tenfold, but we can only afford to do it one day a week at the moment. And to be fair, that funding is running out as well. So we're reliant on the bread making project taking off so that we can fund that ourselves.
Yeah.
We're constantly looking for funding and we're putting in funding applications, but there's a ever decreasing pot of funding money and probably more people applying for that funding money with services, statutory services getting cut. So there's more charities applying for the same amount of fund. The fund's going down as well, so it's a bit of a double whammy really. It's hard to get money.
Obviously, due to the lack of funding, it does affect the amount of care what you can provide for the community on the whole. Would you say, how would you describe like your success rates? How many people you can actually get through off the streets?
Well, on a Wednesday we probably serve between 30 and 40 portions of dinner, and that's bringing people into this safe environment. Whether we would get 30 or 40 every single day, it might dilute itself down if you're open every day. But our idea would be, it's not only serving the people, it's creating more volunteer opportunities. We get to a point where you can't have that many people in the kitchen, you know, or you've got either not enough jobs or the kitchen's just not big enough to have like 20 people in. But if you're open more days, you'd be able to create more volunteer opportunities to allow people to get more people to get more experience.
Yeah.
So it's both really. It's allowing volunteers to come in, and it's also providing this nice environment and a cafe environment for people to come and get a wholesome, nutritious homemade meal.
Yeah. So of course, then that does show that the funding has a massive impact on the good that the charity can do.
Absolutely, that this kind of thing is not going to be sustainable. Even the cafe we run in Billingham, we do get a lot of customers in there, but because we have a lot of volunteers helping with us, the more volunteers you have, the more staff you need to actually manage the volunteers. So it's quite a costly day, and we don't take in enough money to cover that solely. So at the minute it's being funded by the CCG through a health initiatives fund, but that's stopping in March, and they haven't announced whether they're going to put that funding out again. So coming into March, at the moment that's what we're looking for again, is we're constantly looking for funding to keep that going, because what that does is that provides an environment for people with mental health issues to come and get together with like-minded people, share the problems, do a little activity to make them feel good, have some lovely lunch with us and things like that. And if they didn't have that environment, then they'd be on a waiting list to go for counselling somewhere, and the waiting list for a long time, or they maybe don't want to go to the counselling because their anxieties don't want them to go to like a clinical setting. So it's a bit of a very safe, again, non-clinical setting.
Yeah.
But again, that has to be partially funded because it's never going to be sustainable. It's like here, it's never going to be sustainable. The bread might, if we could get going with the bread, but it's going to take somebody to manage it. You can't run it solely on volunteers. You need somebody to go and do the shopping, somebody to manage the orders, somebody to manage the driving around. You can't expect volunteers to do that. So you're always going to need a paid person or somebody to manage it.
Few people have the opinion that people are on the streets due to their own choice, and there's a lot of
A lot of them are, but not all of them. No,
Yeah.
they're not.
And though there are a lot of charities out there that help them, due to the lack of funding, it can't always provide.
I beg your pardon, due to lack of funding. If you look into, don't get me going, because if you look into it, did they give 2.4 million Middlesbrough Council for homelessness? And we've still got 11 sleeping on the streets. It goes to pay their administrative salaries, and the charities that say they're actually helping, like there's a welfare neighbourhood cafe on Princess Road. If you were genuinely homeless and you've got nothing, you go to her door and she won't feed you because you haven't got a voucher or you haven't got a referral slip. Because it's funnily that there's a Billingham councillor contacted me the other day by private message, and she said, we've got an homeless lad, we can't actually help him because he's from, I don't know, he was from another authority, not just close by, and she didn't know what to do because he wasn't able to go into the bridges, which is I think it's a bit like 13, which is a contracted company that houses homeless. You know, emergency, how gives them an emergency accommodation.
Yeah.
They couldn't even get him into there because they were asking for £33 to put this homeless man in. So she said, what do I do, Ruth? I said, there's nothing you can do. You've got to take to the streets and fight and campaign that. They stick to this no to nights out policy thing, which they, you know, isn't it?
There's some chance.
Some
With
chance,
Middlesbrough
yeah, there
Council.
isn't. So there was
Some
nothing, I
chance.
couldn't
Try
really
getting
help
anybody
her.
to speak to. One
no-
passes it on to another.
The phone numbers I give her, they just give her the runaround, you know, you
Yeah,
have to try
yeah, they do.
bridges.
Yeah.
She rang the national helpline, you know, the sweep, severe weather warning, you know, severe weather
Yeah.
emergency protocol. She contacted the national head office for them, and they gave her the same number I give her for bridges, which is Stockton's and Billingham's emergency housing for homeless people.
Yeah.
But isn't that
They couldn't help.
emergency, is it?
But it is, if you're first to the streets and it's your first night out
And
or
they
your
actually
second
take
night
you in
out,
there
but
and
you have
then.
to pay to go in. The means test your benefit, and if you're not on a benefit, you obviously can't go in. So you're screwed either way.
Yeah.
So I'm in from Lush. We got £1,500 from Lush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you apply for that, or was that
Yes,
just?
I applied for that because what came out of we couldn't really afford to keep buying in. The sanitary pads and the tampons are really expensive, and I was forking out £20 out of my own pocket every week, and
Yeah.
our treasurer Jeff said, look, you can't do that, you know, and he said we're going to have to think about, you know, just ask for donations, and I don't like asking for people but I'm used to it now, I've hardened to it, and so anyway, one of the younger volunteers came up with it's called the Period of Change Project, where we would try and encourage, but not
If you want one of
if
them,
they
yes, I'll
wanted to
put
try
my
them,
readers on.
to encourage reusable products, you know, like reusable cloth pads, sanitary pads, and menstrual cups. So we started. We got the funding from Lush based on the period of project, and enabled us to buy in materials to make cloth sanitary pads and lots of menstrual cups, which we give out to women who would like to try them.
Yeah.
But we also give out conventional throwaway products.
Yeah.
But they've been great, Lush. It's one of a few businesses in the country that actually pay the corporation tax in full.
Would you go about applying for like lottery funding?
Well now, those people that just came to visit us out of the blue in 2014 from Leeds, the anonymous funders, we won't be getting, they've wound down this year, so we won't be getting anything else from them. So we're going to have to find another, somewhere else to get funding, and we've looked into the big lottery, and we've looked into, you know, the BBC, is it Bugsy or Pubsby, or
Pudsey, I think.
is it Pudsey, the teddy bear?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been on Phoebe and I, this is another volunteer, we went on a course run by Middlesbrough Council, MDVA, is it Middlesbrough Voluntary
Development Agency.
Development Agency, and it was called Find a Funder, and the report was printed out, and that was compatible with us, because we're not a registered charity or a sick community incorporated company. Pudsey came up, and I tried to apply to them, but it said that we had to be a registered charity or a sick community incorporated company, which we're not, so that was wrong information to us. But there's quite a few on that list. I think there's 6 more that we can possibly apply to for funding if we're not a registered charity.
So it's a lot more limited with you not being registered,
Yeah,
but
it's
not
a lot
being.
more limited, but there is 6 that we can apply to. One of them's called Tudor Trust, and they really do help grassroots organisations and community groups that do similar to us, that help homelessness and people living in poverty. We can certainly apply to them, and it's quite relaxed. You just send a letter, and then they have I think 5 basic questions. You answer the basic questions, and then if they like what you do, they'll send you the application form to fill in. But that seems our best chance of finding a new funder at the moment. People like the Tudor Trust.
So, would you be able to carry on if you weren't able to find a new primary donator?
I'd start I stopped doing the lottery when it went to £2,
Yeah.
and your chance of winning sort of like doubled overnight, didn't it? I thought, well, I've started doing it again, because if we win, I'd buy premises.
Yeah. So it's just hope now.
It's just hope, yeah.
Yeah. So being an unregistered charity though, that gives you just free rein to operate however you see fit, which allows you to just treat anyone that comes in.
Yeah, we have no questions. We don't ask any questions. We ask we keep a detailed logbook. We ask the first name, sometimes they give us the surname, what they've taken, and especially what they need. And we try and get it for them for the following week.
Yeah.
And if they need to be referred to any other statutory or voluntary organisation, we'll do that.
Yeah.
It's basic, it's just come in, and they go out with what they... There's no restrictions.
It's a more inclusive care.
The local we had a guy from Scarborough once, and the police moved him on.
Oh yeah.
They said that you're causing a nuisance because he was sleeping on a bench there. But they actually give him the money to travel to Middlesbrough to come and seek help here.
Didn't they?
To come and seek help here. The Middlesbrough Council will help, but they wanted him not from the area. So they're passing the buck. The local authorities are passing the buck, but we just dressed him up like Michelin Man and give him a sleeping bag. Said you best go back to. It's awful.
Yeah.
I thought there was more than that.
So I think we are going to have to campaign, or you know, we're going to have to pressure the local authorities into to stop doing this and to stick to what they say they're going to do in the literature or their policies. You know, they're not sticking to the 2 night out policy.
Yeah.
Only 2 nights homeless and then we'll help you, but they're not. And they're going to have to be. That angers me that they don't help them, and all these other charities that say they're feeding the homeless and they have all smiley faces and the materials and in the media, and then you send a homeless person there and they're not feeding them because they don't have a voucher or a referral.
Yeah.